Okay, algebra, we got our last example on operations with radical expressions. I got two different problems here. Both of them are a binomial times a binomial. So a set of parentheses with two terms times a set of parentheses with two terms. Does anybody remember what you do when you're multiplying a binomial times a binomial? It was a method we learned. It was the FOIL method. So you're going to do the FOIL method to simplify this expression. So remember, FOIL method, after you multiply the first terms, root 5 times root 5 is the square root of 25. Then O, remember O standing for outer, the outside terms. Root 5 times root 15, that is plus square root of 75. Then finally, I do my I stands for inner, the inside terms. Negative 2 root 15 times root 5. So that would be negative 2 times square root of 75. You multiply 15 times 5 to get 75, so square root of 75. And that negative 2 just stays out in front. And then finally, L was for last terms, if you remember. Negative 2 root 15 times positive root 15. That's going to be negative 2 root 225. We've successfully done the FOIL method, but now we got to simplify further. This is always going to be the case when you do these, especially when you're multiplying a root 5 times a root 5. You're going to get a perfect square in the square root because I multiplied the same number by itself. 5 times 5 is 25, which gives me a perfect square. The square root of 25 is just 5. The same thing is going to happen over here. I got a square root of 225 because I multiplied 15 times 15, which gave me 225, which is also a perfect square. So this is going to be minus 2 times the square root of 225, which is 15. Both of those roots end up going away. Now, and the other thing that's going to happen in this case, when our two middle terms are like terms, because I got a root 75 minus 2 root 75. They both have square root of 75. So remember, if there's no number, you can think of that as a 1 in there. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. So I'm just going to put minus root 75 there. And then over here, this was still minus 2 times 15. So I combined this term and that term because they are like terms. Now, this is all one big thing here. So I got 5 minus the square root of 75. Negative 2 times 15 is negative 30, so minus 30. So, all I did was I took the square root of 25 and got 5. I did the square root of 225 and got 15. Now you can see I've only got one square root left. One thing you always need to check, just like the last example in the previous video, if something could be simplified, it needs to be. The square root of 75, can you think of a perfect square that goes into that? Yes, I can. I know 25 goes into that. So this could be root 25 times root 3, because 25 times 3 is 75. So now the square root of 25 is 5. I got 5 minus 5 root 3 minus 30. So now I've simplified that square root. You might still think you're done, but you're not, because look at the beginning and the end here. Those are both like terms. They're just numbers with no square root, no variable, nothing. So they're like terms. They're both constants. So I'm going to combine them. 5 minus 30 is negative 25. So I end up with negative 25. And then I still have this minus 5 root 3. And that is my answer. There's nothing else you can do there. That is my simplified answer. So you can see these problems are a lot. I mean, there's definitely a bunch of steps to get there. You got to do the FOIL method first. Then after the FOIL method, you got to simplify. Typically, your first and last terms are going to have perfect squares in the square root. So you can actually do that square root. Then, if that middle term can be combined, and then if it can be simplified, you got to simplify. It won't always be able to be simplified, but sometimes it will be. And then finally, a lot of times your first term and your last term in the trinomial you end up with, they're both going to be like terms. They're both going to be constants without a square root. So you can combine them. You can add or subtract them. So you can see our answer there, negative 25 minus 5 root 3. All right, let's look at our last example here. 2 root 6 minus 3 root 3. All of that times root 6 minus 5 root 3. So again, our first step is just the FOIL method. So my first terms, 2 root 6 times root 6, that's 2 times square root of 36. Then, so that's my F for first terms. O for outer terms, 2 root 6 minus 5 root 3. So in this case, what you're going to do is you multiply your whole numbers. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. Root 6 times root 3 is root 18. So then I've got my inner terms, negative 3 root 3 times root 6. That's going to be negative 3 root 18. And then I've got my last terms. So negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. Root 3 times root 3 is the square root of 9. Now we simplify. So 2 times the square root of 36. Square root of 36, that's a perfect square. 30 square root of 36 is just 6, so 2 times 6. In the middle, I've got like terms. They both have root 18, so I'm going to combine them. Negative 10 minus 3 is negative 13, so negative 13 root 18. And then finally, my last here, 15 root 9. Root 9 is a perfect square. Square root of 9 is 3, so that's going to be plus 15 times 3. Now I'm going to do this multiplication. 2 times 6 is 12. Still got this minus 13 root 18 in the middle. 15 times 3 is 45. So, and now the order you do things doesn't matter here. I could say, oh, these are like terms, I'm going to combine them. 12 plus 45 is 57. So I got 57 minus 13 root 18. And you might think you're done, but always make sure your square root can't be simplified. Does a perfect square go into 18? Yes, 9 does. So this is going to be 57 minus 13. I'm going to break the root 18 up into root 9 times root 2. Square root of 9 is 3. So 57 minus 13 times 3 times root 2. 13 times 3 is 39. So I got 57 minus 39 root 2. I can't do 57 minus 39 because this 39's got this root 2 attached, so they're not like terms. That is my answer, 57 minus 39 root 2. All right, so that was example 3, operations with radical expressions. So we've done 3 examples. You got some example problems to do. Do those, check them over with the answer key, and then go to Google Classroom, do the quiz on Google Forms. Thank you.